Hi, my name is Peter. I'm the co-founder of Bullet, which is the product you're on at the moment. Below you is a deep dive 10 chapter blog post about how to spot founders, good founders, bad founders, full of information about my experience with emails and text messages and notes from solicitors, everything you're really going to need to do with a co-founder. So let's have a jump into this presentation. It'll only take a couple of minutes and I'll give you a good overview of what is contained within this document. So let me share this out for you and we can get straight to it. Okay, and here we have the presentation. So that is me without a beard and a very fluffy head. My name is Peter Connor. I'm based in Dublin in Ireland on the furthest west coast of Europe, right in between the US. And my background is technology, kind of art and design. Then I moved into technology and then worked in a bank and then worked on the launch of an online bank called RoboDirect, which gave me a kind of a taste for the online world, a mix of technology and creativity. From that, then I worked on a number of different products before landing on this final product, which is Bullet. Bullet is a free automated small business accounting product, kind of like a Xero, except we've built all of the workflows, all of the accounting logic into workflows, so you never, ever, ever have to learn accounts. We've got about 8,000 businesses on the product, so we have a real good understanding of small businesses, and indeed ourselves. We are a fully bootstrapped business. We've been around about 8 years now, and we started the product having spent about $1,200, and we're chasing companies that have raised about $80 million, and we have built a product that is on par, if not better than them. We got a net promoter score of 72, which is about 6 points higher than Apple's iPhone. That's a customer rating. So that's pretty good considering we're not a shiny iPhone, we're an accounts product. So let's have a jump into the talk. This is the product we built here. So I'm going to explain a little bit about all the ins and outs we had about building this product and how we believe we can help you avoid some of those pitfalls and mistakes within the next couple of minutes. So ultimately, and our solicitor always says this, all relationships end. Whether it's due to an exit of your business, whether it's due to somebody wanting to have babies, whether it's due to somebody wanting to move to a different state or a different country, or you exit the business, or somebody gets ill. All relationships ultimately end. And this whole blog post and our workbook and all our videos is all about preparing you and helping you to be better prepared for that eventuality. Okay, so let's go in. So we have about 10 chapters in this whole blog post. So in the first chapter, we're going to give an overview of what's in this course. We're also going to explain a little bit about who I am and why this document is good for you, and also how the document works, kind of just to explain an overview of the functionality within the document. Okay, we have chapter 2 then. We're going to cover the 10 chapters. We kind of give you an overview of 10 chapters. They're all real world examples. So I give you my examples with email screenshots, what we did, what we didn't do, terrible disasters we hit, and how we got out of them. We talk about the 3 different kinds of founders I think there are: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, the good are great founders like John, who I founded Bullet with. The bad are founders where you're probably just a mismatch. And then the ugly are people you want to absolutely avoid. So we give you some tips on them. We also have 2 interviews, one with my co-founder on his side of why we broke up. He no longer works full-time in Bullet at the moment, and he explains his side and tips that he'd have for people on how to better communicate that. We're still work together and we're still great friends together. So I think it is a great example of how you can split up as a business partner but still remain close and good friends. And then we also have an interview with our solicitor who helped us get out of some sticky situations in Bullet, which every business hits, by the way. And he also gives us his kind of soundboard because he has tons of experience on dealing with businesses that implode, or eventually the founders break up. And it's actually his term that all relationships end ultimately. And then we have a section on valuation, on how to kind of put a value on your business, even if it's not a software business, but kind of just to get your head around that, because ultimately if one partner leaves or two partners leave, the business is going to implode, and you'll want to have, you kind of want to feel like you've got some reward for the work you've put in, although it's not always that case. And we also have a really good workbook, which is like a framework document that we think everybody should do either before they start a business or before they implode. Okay, in the second chapter, we'll do a deep dive into the ugly founder, okay, or co-founder. You absolutely want to keep away from these people. We go in detail in what happened in our situation. We have emails showing you all the kind of flags that were coming up. We talk about the telltale. So each kind of section, we approach it this way. What happened, what the telltales were with this terrible co-founder that we had, and then what we did to get rid of them, and how tricky that can be, and some of the pitfalls we fell in when we hit that. So really the kind of person you absolutely want to keep away. I also talk a little bit about the bad co-founder, and that is kind of the wrong term to use because it's really just a mismatch between founders. Again, I talk about what happened. I give two absolute examples. One was we were looking to set up a business. His career was taking off. I wanted to change my career. So we were just a complete mismatch of where we were in our life. And usually bad co-founders are exactly that. Another example I give, and I show you some emails about that, the story happened, was we both kind of wanted to build a digital agency together, but I ultimately preferred product. And I thought building a better agency with better clients would actually give me what I wanted, and that wasn't the case. They were just bigger budgets and bigger headaches. And he loved that, and he loved that kind of firefighting side to running a client business and the way it changes and different clients, whereas I actually loved product, and I loved kind of getting software to find solutions. So neither of those stories were bad people. They were just bad matches. Okay, so that's probably a better way to say. And then I talk about what I did, and then telltale signs again on how you can spot this. Work together for 6 months or 3 months, and you'll pretty much have a good idea if you're going to work together and if it's what you want to do. Then there's the good, and that was with John, who was like a perfect match. And I would never give you give our example as kind of good advice, because we met within 2 coffees, we were in business together, but it was kind of one of those rare things. So I kind of break that down. We talk about work ethic. Myself and John had the exact same work ethic. The first day we got into business together, we were still working at 12 o'clock that night on screens, and how I was working in London, and in a really balmy summer night, I went to just do some work because I couldn't sleep because it was so hot. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and John was online. I could see his Skype was on, and then we worked till about 3 to get some problems resolved. So I talk about what happened there. Ultimately, then that relationship, John just got very fatigued with the product because we were struggling a bit with our marketing position, and he couldn't really help in that because he loved product and he was a developer, and how that kind of fatigue creeped in, and how he probably didn't handle it too well or didn't communicate it too well. So we talk about what happened there, telltale signs to pick that up, and then what we did to resolve it so that we could still work together. John's still involved in the product, kind of on a part-time basis, and we're great friends. And so we talk a little bit about that as well, okay? Then we have the ex-founder interview. So this is a deep dive interview I do with John. So this is actually our first time, although John has left the company about 2 years ago, we did our first actually kind of autopsy on that kind of breakup, because it kind of feels like a breakup. So he gives his side of the story, what he'd do different, why we kind of didn't kill each other at the end of it, and his advice to you so you don't make the same mistakes. So that's a pretty rare interview you get between 2 co-founders. It's pretty rare you get 2 co-founders talk to one another after a split up. But John is a great guy, and he gives a really, he worked 8 years. He didn't pull any, or like 6 years full time. He didn't pull any salary out of it. And he talks about, why he didn't want to hold on to his 50%, and some really great insight that I think everybody can learn from. Then in the 7th chapter, we do interview with our solicitor, and we spend about half an hour talking to him. He gives some insights on businesses, why they die, why they don't die, about usually co-founders imploding. If you watch a lot of news, you always think, or TV, you always think it's like some hijinks is going on. But it's usually, again, just that bad founder mismatch creeps in, where two people are in different stages of their lives, and then you get a jarring goes on. One founder leaves or implodes, and the kind of company shuts down. So we have a founder framework document, and actually we provide a founder framework document. So he talks a little bit about that. And he also gives advice, which is pretty rare from a lawyer, to not go chasing people in the courts, because it never really works out. But he gives a kind of a legal breakdown on kind of the different ways you can resolve issues. Okay. Then we do a chapter 8. We talk a little bit about how to value your business. This tends to be kind of tied more with software businesses, but I kind of open it up a bit to talk about really the valuation as the business is really how you value your time in that business. Whether you're a little deluded about how much time and effort or value you are to that business, or if you've put in like 4 years hard work, you really want to get some reward out of that. That reward mightn't be there. Okay, so if the business isn't making money, don't fight over empty bank accounts. And also, people tend to get a little deluded when the breakup is happening about how unique their product is. Like, oh my God, this automated Facebook updater app is really going to change the world. But in actual fact, there are millions of them, and it's not going to change the world. One piece of advice I always say to software people is just share the software. So anytime I've been in a business where we've built a product and it could maybe take 2-3 years, and you're bootstrapping that or you're funded that, is literally just everybody gets a version of the software. Because ultimately, when that company breaks up and the founders go to the different way, the company really implodes. But at that time, you feel, well, if I get this software, then I have something tangible for the work that I put into the product. So that's kind of my advice on that. Now, the valuation isn't like a hardcore valuation. It's really just a kind of high level, real world, what I've experienced and what we've seen. And ultimately, just focus on the future, okay? Because it's not worth, fighting over spilt milk. It's too late. Then in chapter 9, we give a what to do now. So the whole way through the document, after each chapter, we give you takeaways on what you can do right now. On chapter 9, then, we talk about tips for people who've just started their business. Okay, we break down some points and things that we think you should be doing now. And also then people who are mid-breaking up. So you've just done a search on Google and your co-founders walked out, or you're about to kill each other, and we give you some tips on what you should do then. So we kind of cover everything with that. And then the final chapter is a framework document we've done. And we really recommend you do this. Again, we give kind of questions. We give a recap of Killian, the lawyer, on what he suggests you do. And then we have a questionnaire to get you started. We have that in Google Docs, so you can share it with your co-founder. We recommend that you fill it in. You get all your co-founders to fill it in independently. And then you can keep a copy of that. That's why we kept it in Google Docs. And you can also then come together, so fill it out, come together and read through your answers, like where you want to be in the world, what happens when somebody gets sick, what happens if somebody wants to go on maternity leave, what happens if someone's financial situation changes, like you buy a house and suddenly you need to be paying a $2,000 mortgage every month. So all those kind of questions that probably if you're starting your business, you're not thinking about because you're high-fiving each other and you're trying to take on the world. But actually it's a good framework document. It's free. It'll take you like 15 minutes each to fill it out, and it will absolutely save you a ton of time. It'll allow you to avoid getting into business with a bad co-founder. Again, remember, that's not a bad person. It's just a mismatch. Like, think of it like you're a super ambitious student who's living at home and you have no overheads and you want to work 24/7. And then you get into business with somebody who has 3 young kids and an enormous mortgage, and they can literally just do 3 days a week because they need to consult for the other 2 days so that they can pay their mortgage. So that kind of a thing, we give you all the kind of questions. We give you templates that you can then add more questions related to your situation. And then we also kind of give you tips on each of the questions, like think about this and what about this situation? And here are other situations that creep up. So it's really a good document. And even if you wanted to get it more legal and bring it into a lawyer, which is always a good thing, it's a good framework to present to the lawyer. It's also something that we recommend. And even at the end of this document, we give you action points that you should do right away. So the one thing you'd notice with framework documents or shareholders agreements, which is kind of the technical legal term for them, is that they're always changing because situations always change and people get older and life changes and you buy a house or you move state or someone gets sick or you get sick or someone you love gets sick and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to work 24 hours a day because there's more to life than this. So what we recommend with the document as well is that you set up a calendar event every 3 months, or let's say even every 6 months, that you review this document again. And it forces you to talk about issues like changing environments and what you really want to get out of the company. And you'll notice in the interview I have with John, we had my co-founder, my ex-co-founder, we had a really good relationship. Like we worked crazy hard. We didn't pull any money out of the company. We had this altruistic idea of building this automated accounts product because John got hammered by an accountant once who made an arse of everything. And he built this automated tool that had all of this accounting logic in it so that the end user, so that small business people working from the kitchen table just wouldn't have to learn accounts, but would know that their accounts were 100% compliant. So we had built a great product, we had great communication, we had stressed each other out, and we worked really well. But we still broke up in the end because John just got fatigued with what he felt he could give to the company, which I think he kind of underestimated, to be honest with you. So I hope you like the document. It's broken into 10 chapters. You can there's an index in there where you can jump up and down to different sections of the document. Have a look at the videos and definitely get that workbook, get that framework workbook and start working on it straight away. 15 minutes each, and it is going to save you a ton of time later on. So I hope you enjoy that and good luck.